Coming up on today's show, we are talking about how to help our children and the children in our lives transition back to life as they know it, as we know it now. You don't want to miss today's show. Hello, darlings, and welcome to Wake Up Well. I am your host, Portia Scott. Listen, I am so excited that you guys decided to join us this Sunday. I'm super excited about today's show. Today's show is going to be one that's close to my heart, and I hope one close to your heart. So, what I want you to do is I want you to share. If there is someone that you know that has a child, that loves a child, that is in a child's life, I want you to share with them because we really are talking about a very important conversation. And it really is helping our children transition back into life as we now know it. At first, I said post quarantine, and I wasn't going to say post COVID because even though things have opened up and we have the vaccine, life is not exactly how it was. And there was 18 months, almost 2 years of us really trying to understand where we are, what we're doing. And so I hope that this show will help you, will help your children, will help your loved ones. So I want to make sure that you are sharing so that we can, in fact, have this great conversation. We want to make sure that you are also with us. Make sure that you are commenting. We want to hear your comments. We want to know what you have to say, what you're experiencing. Thank you so much, John Henry, darling. You are doing good, Mom. Thank you. So I was just informed that we are not live on my business page. So what I'm going to do is, you guys know I am never alone. And you guys, where are you? Hello, darlings, in the comments. Let us know. How are you? What are you grateful for? You guys know how we do it. But you know I'm never alone. And so I'm going to bring up our resident mental health hygienist, my co-host, Martinez Sellers.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Good, Marty. So what I'm getting ready to do is I want to know what you're grateful for, but I'm going to go and see what's going on with this business
I
page so that we
understand.
can get as many people in here as possible. So let us know what you're grateful for today.
Yes, Portia, I'm so grateful that we have this platform to talk about how to get our young people back on track. Because you're right, for almost 2 years, we've lived in a different society, in a different world. And now it is really about getting our young people back on track. And what does this new world look like? So I'm grateful for a platform like this that we can share some insight, some things that we've seen, some things that we've all experienced ourselves, so that we can help our young people in this transition. You're right, not post pandemic, not post all this, but what is life going to look like now as we are finding out what this new normal is. So I'm grateful for you, grateful for John Henry, grateful for my family, grateful for just having this opportunity to speak up, to speak out, and to live so that other people would not secretly suffer in silence in the
In the
shadow of
shadow of
shame.
fame.
That's right. I was sitting in church today and I kept hearing yours. Today I will show up. And God was speaking to me today about what does showing up on a daily basis look like for me. And showing up, this is what I'm grateful for now that I think about it through, and we're talking about showing up is really not allowing others to change me because I want to please them. But I have to continue to be the Marty and the gift that God has given me, and to
Yes.
continue to be a light in a dark world, and to continue to be. That's why I have this yellow on today, because it reminded me I have to always let my light shine, and you have to do the same thing. So today, Portia Scott, I am showing up in full force.
I love it. I love everything about it. So, you know what? I'm
Yes.
super excited. I love Sundays. I think about
Yes.
today. This week was crazy, Marty. It really was a crazy
I
day,
hear you.
a crazy week. Who had a crazy week? Or who has felt what a crazy week feels like? So it was like, for me, and you probably don't know, I love my sleep. When I finally lay down, I like to be sleep. I like to try
Right.
to get my 7 hours. And this week it was like
Mm-hmm.
late nights,
Mm-hmm.
early mornings. And so trying to get everything together. But
Right.
I am so grateful for, I say this all the time and I mean it, is community and those people within
Yes.
your community
Yes.
that uplift you. And sometimes people who, like you said, show up and just
Mm-hmm.
are authentically who they are for
Yes.
you. It's so important. I have John Henry, I have you, I have Daryl. Even before the show, Daryl and I had amazing, amazing talk, and it really helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's so important to have community. And even as we
Yes.
talk about this particular topic, I think community is going to show up, and we're going to see
Yes.
how important community is.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that I love is that, and I've always kind of grown up around other people in
Mm-hmm.
a community, and so when I'm without it, I know what that feels like.
Right. Right.
But that's what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for these people, and I'm grateful for you all that show up each and every Sunday. I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on the business page. So, and see if what's going on. But I know a lot of people do watch it on the personal page as well as
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. So listen, if there's somebody in here that is not on, I want you to go ahead and ping them. Go ahead and share it with them, because they may be trying to figure out what is going on. We are actually live, but we were talking about this community and how people they show up. They
Right.
literally show up, right? And
Right.
how important this show is and how it's been. And
Yes.
so I'm grateful for each and every one of you in our community. But I do want to get into today's episode, Marty, into today's
Yes.
topic.
Great topic.
So I'm a mom
Mm-hmm.
for the last school year and half of the ending of the other school year. I was homeschooling. My kids were
Right.
at home. I think Maddox went back into school 2 weeks. 2 weeks before school was out. So listen,
That
listen.
doesn't even
He need
count.
help transitioning. I need help. But what I do want to say is two things. This week we're going to talk about children. Next week we're going to talk about you in transitioning, not just back to your jobs and your careers, but back
Mm-hmm.
to life and what that looks
Mm-hmm.
like. And we're also going to have a segment that's coming on, somebody that I know, Kiana, she's on. We call her Queen. She is on, and she's really talking about this holistic approach to health and
Mm-hmm.
wellness, especially for women. So you
Love
don't
it.
want to miss next week's episode. But Marty, let's jump on. It does look like it's funny, Daryl, because it does look like the business page is up now. Like I can see. Oh no, this is a different one. Sorry, never mind. Anyway, I digress. So let's just jump in, Marty. One of the
Yes.
things that I've noticed, we spend a lot of time with the kids at our
Mm-hmm.
church, our own
Mm-hmm.
kids, around
Mm-hmm.
other kids. And I think it's important, when we deploy in the military does a really, really good job of
Mm-hmm.
reintegrating us back into what real life looks like. Because for
Right.
us that have been deployed, we have experienced something that our families, our friends that are back in what we call a garrison, or back home, they
Mm-hmm.
didn't experience, right? They were not running for their lives. They were not
Right.
experiencing kind of that adrenaline that you constantly have rushing because
Mm-hmm.
there is a true enemy. And so when
Right.
you come back, there is a time before you just hop back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen it in the number of car accidents,
Mm-hmm.
the number of different things that are happening around the world
Mm-hmm.
and even in the US alone, the height in crime rates
Mm-hmm.
and all that can be associated with unemployment and different things. But I also
Mm-hmm.
think that we have to look at the fact that we jump back into life.
Yes.
We said we got a
Yes.
vaccine, everything was open, and we jumped back in the
Mm-hmm.
way it was, but we never had that transitional period. And I don't think
Yes.
our kids had that transitional period. And especially for us, we're getting ready to go back in 3 weeks. Our
Right.
kids are getting ready to go back into
Wow.
school. So let's really talk about how to help our children and children that we love transition back not only into school, but into life
Into
a
life.
little bit.
I so agree with you and everything. Hi, Phoebe. That's one of our wonderful. She's
Hello, darling. Thank
amazing.
you so much for joining. Look at that necklace. I
Yes.
love it, Phoebe. Thank you, darling.
Yes, Phoebe is up and coming. She's an amazing singer. She and her husband have a beautiful marriage ministry out in the Las Vegas area.
Okay.
So
Okay.
proud of them. But you're absolutely right. This has been a tough time. I am so glad that I did not have to deal with school and do the homeschooling and all of that because I would have failed. And here recently, I'm seeing that my teenage client has definitely increased again, Portia, and now they're anxious about this transition back into school, especially those who are transitioning from middle school, from elementary into middle school, or from middle school into high school. They didn't have that buffer. So they spent their entire eighth grade year, the time that they're supposed to be the kings of the campus, the kings and queens, the bosses, their fifth grade year in virtual. And what is happening is that now they're struggling with what it's going to be like making friends again, where they've been able to hide out into Zoom classes and not make that transition. So I've my heart goes out for these young people because we're forcing them into change. And any type of adjustment period is difficult for anyone. I mean, let's think about it. When we started a new job, don't we get anxious? When we're starting something that's different, we feel and experience a lot of anxiety. And so we have to look at, I was doing some studies, and the recent studies have definitely come out, which I'm so excited about. These are studies within the past, reports have come out within the past 2 months that we're showing an increased anxiety, depression, frustration, all of that in our middle school and high school students. We've seen a 25% of worsened emotional and cognitive health rather, as a result of the pandemic. And we cannot let that go unaddressed, and we cannot ignore that any longer. So I'm glad that you're having this topic and this talk today, very much so, Portia, because we have to address this. And thank you for having the courage so that we can definitely talk to our parents and how to support our young people during this transitional time, because this is going to be our new normal. And they've had a whole year and a half to deal with this, and it's going to take that much time to help us transition as well. It's not going to be an overnight thing. And so parents, please be patient, have these conversations, and simply ask, hey, how are you feeling about going back into school? How are you feeling about going into high school now that you haven't been for this time frame? So I think it's a great question and great topic to have. And so thank you for having this conversation with us today.
Absolutely. So there's a couple people that are on. When you guys came on, I think we were just in the middle of anything, but I want to say, Ethlyn, thank you so much for joining, darling. That Speak Right
Yes.
Play in English. You know what, Marty? I just completely, so what she does is she actually teaches English.
Okay.
She teaches English, and just I just literally thought about the Belief Center, people who come through there and what that looks like. But anyway,
Right.
so she not only teaches English, but she has essentially an English service organization. And so
Wow.
yeah, so she's a writer, she's a copyright, she does tutoring, everything that has to do with the English language.
Love
She
that.
does that. So and I think she speaks like three languages. So
Oh, please
Ethlyn,
reach
thank you so
out.
much for joining, darling.
Yes.
Queen, thank you so much for joining, darling. My love, John Henry Scott, thank you so much for joining, darling. He is at the airport. I miss him. He's going on the other side of the country to
He's
see
coming to
Marty.
see us.
I know
Yes.
he's going to be in good hands. Phoebe, hello again, darling. Thomas, hello, darling. Best friend, thank you so much for joining. Pam, hello, darling. Thank you so much for joining. So, Marty, you do make a good point, is that we've been doing this like 18 months. They've
Yes.
been out of school. And so trying
Yes.
to transition back, is a big thing. And I think we are so, because we've been crammed up in the house, or there's been things that we have not been able to do that we usually do. So once it opens up, the natural thing that we want to do is jump out there. And so while we
Right.
can physically jump out there, let's talk a little bit about how the mind has to shift a little bit from where it is that you're going. You almost got to think about it. Doc talked about this a lot when he talked about cortisol levels and things like
Right.
that. It's like
Right.
it literally is that you feel like a lion is chasing you all the time.
Yes.
And when you
Yes.
are in situations, it feels like this fight or flight type of thing. And that's what COVID felt like,
Yes.
even when we were in the house, because you don't know what was going on. We didn't
Right.
know what was happening from day to day. We didn't know if we were going to get it, if somebody we love were going to get it. So you were always on high alert, and we probably didn't even notice it, Marty, how high alert. And so now your physical body can go and do all the things, but your mind has not caught up with that. And I
Right.
think has not processed it. And I think we see it often. Some people can just jump back out there and their minds can just switch back and they're good. But there is a big portion of, especially children. I mean, just
Yes.
think about how hard it was for us to analyze what was going on. Marty, we did shows upon shows
Yes.
every single Sunday, trying to figure out the numbers, trying to figure out what vitamins to take, how to stay safe, how to make sure our families were safe. And we are adults, and
Yes.
our ability to analyze and to think about how things should be done. And then you think about a child, and so they're concerned, they're having the same concerns
The
that we're
exact
having.
same. Portia, a year ago from now, remember, I was sick with COVID.
Yep.
It was a year today. I was sick
Was
with
it a
COVID.
year
It
today?
was a year. It was 4th of July
Yeah.
weekend. I was sick as a dog and did not realize it, did not get the formal diagnosis until
Right.
July 1st. But
Hmm.
this time I was coming over that, and you were just like, "What? You look horrible." And I'm like, "Oh." You and Doc were like,
Because you were still trying to do the show, and
I
I'm
was, I
like,
was trying to
this
do it. You're
dude
like,
is clearly sick. Like, he is clearly sick. You guys know how Marty is. It would be like if I came on the show and I was dialed down to like 90. You would know. You would know, and that's how it was. That's how it
right, right.
was.
I had pillows propping me up because I didn't want anyone to see how sick I really was. And then after the show, I would literally pass out because it took every bit of the energy I had to do
Right.
that. And so I knew that I was fighting my own cognition, talking
Hmm.
to myself. And I'm a therapist, and I had to literally pull out the same tools that I told everyone else and use them on myself. That's why I know they work. I'm not just telling you something I've studied. I'm telling you something that I've done for myself. I had to stop my own stinking thinking. And you know
Hmm.
what we say was it takes 21 days to break a habit. I don't
Hmm.
believe that. I think it takes cycles of 21 days. And
Right.
so if we're talking about that, our babies have been in this for over 500 days. If we look at it about what that adds
The
up to.
cycles of 21. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we're trying to now break the mentality, the emotions, the anxiety, the depression that our young people have been going on for over some 500 plus days. It's
Yep.
not going to change in 1 week.
It's
It just
not.
isn't. They went through they saw the racism.
Hmm.
They saw the discrimination. They saw mom and dad at home, mom and or dad at home. They saw if they live in blended families, I have some fathers who would cry saying, I have not seen my children physically in 4, 5, 6 months.
Right. Right.
They had to experience that as well. They
Hmm.
saw and experienced when mom and dad or their guardian lost their job and money got
Hmm.
funny. They had to experience not going in the classroom, and now the activities that they've had now broken up. So
Yes.
they got to experience as well. And yes, children are resilient, but it does not mean in the resiliency that we have not felt exactly what you have felt as well.
That's right. I love this. I'm gonna let you kind of go through this, but it's what should our conversation be with young
Yes.
people as they transition back? However, we still have the third string of COVID coming
Yes.
out. One of the things, Marty, you said, and I'm gonna let you answer this, but I think it's important that we're honest with the children, that we love the
Yes.
children in our lives. And I think I learned that that was one of my takeaways, was to be as honest
Mm-hmm.
according to their age group. You got to remember,
Yes,
I have a
that's it.
24-year-old, I have now 14-year-olds, and I have a 7-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Those conversations look different, but I think
Mm-hmm.
the vulnerability in it, um, and talking to them. I think sometimes when we don't talk, the same way is if we don't talk to one another, we assume, and our
Mm-hmm.
mind goes to all these different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with children. If we don't talk to them, but they're hearing the
Mm-hmm.
messages, and if we, as the adults in their lives, don't really help them with that narrative, then they're going to go off of the fear and everything
Yes.
else. And so talking to them in a way like, this is what's happening, this is reality, but this is something else, and kind of talking through
Yes.
that. So I think even with Maddox, it took him
Mm-hmm.
forever. He was like, he done made a song talking about COVID got him stuck inside. And so,
But that's creative because he got to
right.
use his creativity to create a song, and that lets him get it out.
Yes, yes. And so being honest with him and saying, "Hey, buddy,
Mm-hmm.
this is what's going on. But you know what?
Yeah.
We're able to go outside because we wear a mask, because
Right.
we do hand sanitizer, because you clean. This is why it's important to
Mm-hmm.
do, is because you want to stay safe, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not as scary out there as you think. So let's go
Right.
out. Let's go out to eat. Let's do these small
Yes.
incremental steps." So I didn't just throw them out to the wolves, but it was these small incremental steps. But I want you to answer Phoebe's question, where she says,
Yes.
kind of, what should our conversations be about?
I totally agree and with you, Portia, on that. I think they need to be very strategic. They need to be age appropriate. I use this acronym WISE. Daryl, I'm going to go right to that right now with the WISE. And when I'm saying that using WISE is using wisdom. When I say the W stands for this: helping our children and our young people work through their emotions. Ask them, how are you doing with all of this? What are you feeling like? We want to ask them open ended questions. Not, are you feeling okay? Of course, they're going to say, yep. No, what are you feeling? How can I support you? What do we need to do to help you through this phase? And then sharing with them also, I'm struggling as well. This is how you can help mom. This is how you can help dad. This is how you can help me, the adult in the room. So
Mhm.
how can we support and help each other? So helping each other, W, work through the emotions. Here's the I in that: increase awareness of stressors. Letting them know, guess what? It stresses me out when I cannot get outside, or it stresses me and my emotions go all over the place when I can't do X, Y, and Z. What are your stressors? What makes this condition worse for you? What increases your anxiety? What increases your depression? Asking those questions. And how can I support you when those triggers and stressors come on? So again, increase your awareness of your stressors. S in the wise is this: set priorities. Set some priorities and set them together. What are your priorities as an individual, and what are your priorities as a family? What are the important things about that we want to? One of the priorities that we have in our family is having fun. So if that is the case, when aren't we having fun? And how do we always remind ourselves, are we having fun? Let's get back to our priority or our family value as a whole. So reminding ourselves, what are the priorities, setting the priorities as a family. And finally, the E. The E in wise: be excited about growth and having conversations. Create the excitement. You tell your children, you know what? Thank you for sharing that with me, because I did not know you felt that way. Or thank you for having this conversation. You made me feel so important, and thank you for opening and allowing me to be in your world, even that sensitive area. Be excited about that and celebrate those moments. That's how, Phoebe, I believe that we can begin and having those conversations. It doesn't have to be anything deep, but I also encourage during this time, have those weekly, at least once a week, family times together, family meals together, family outings together, something that's family centered, so that we don't lose focus, we don't lose contact, we don't get busy and so busy till we forget the priorities of what is going on. And that priority is doing those things for our families.
Mhm. Uh,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I love that,
Portia,
Marty.
Daryl just said he lost power, so you're going to have to take over in controlling.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Yes, I know we're having, babe. Listen, listen.
Today
This
is one
this
of those days,
Today is one of
right?
those days, and guess what? Because we have such an important topic, I say it like this: the enemy's trying to be upset with us, but we're going to get this message out one way or the other. So it does not matter with that. So yes, there
Okay.
we go.
Here we go.
Portia,
Here
you're in
we go.
control.
I'm in control. I don't know what's going
That's
on, but you
right.
know what? We are having bad weather here in Atlanta.
Yes.
So we've had some thunderstorms. So it's so funny. I saw him kind of blink out. But I think that's so important. You said some great things, and I think one of the things is that it's our responsibility to have those
Yes.
conversations, right?
It
We're
is.
the adults in it, and so it is important that for us to have those conversations. I think when everything first happened,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things John and I sat down with Miracle and Maddox and said, how can we support you in this
That's
digital
good.
learning?
Oh
What do
my
you guys
goodness.
need? And I think because so oftentimes we're like, you're seen and heard, you do what we say, you
Mm-hmm.
do this. And honestly, they are literally just little people.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are little humans with feelings, with ideas, with needs. And so when
Yes.
we asked them, like, what do you need? And I remember we had put them in the living room and I was there and they were working, they were playing a lot and
Mm-hmm.
running around. And I think it was then that we were like, how can we support you guys? Like, how can we support you the most? And sometimes they don't know, but the fact that you answered what it says,
Yes.
ask them what it says to them is you care about my feelings. And I am
Yes.
learning and hearing more of Miracle really talking about the importance of being heard
Yes.
and
Ooh, that's
wanting
so
and
important.
someone asking, how am I doing, instead of why did you do this?
Yes. Or what's
Ask
wrong
me,
with you?
ask me how I'm doing. Go ahead, Marty.
No, what I was going to say is how are you doing and how can I support you is not judgmental.
Hmm.
Why did you
That's
do
so
that
good.
and
It's so
what's
good.
wrong with you, and that is very accusatory. So it
Hmm.
makes, I had one of, oh my goodness, one of my new young men, 13 years old. He goes, I don't want to lie, and I'm
Mm,
tired of lying. Oh my goodness, I'm trying not to get emotional. I'm trying not to lie to my parents, but when I feel accused or
mhm.
they're attacking me, the first thing that comes out is being defensive and
Right.
and having to justify. And he
Hmm.
goes, and I realize it's a lie, but I don't even have the strength to pull it back
Hmm.
because I feel attacked. That spoke
Hmm.
such volumes to me.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
one of the things you're saying, that how can I support you? That's one of the questions I have my couples doing, but now I've changed it to my families. And then what I add on is at the end of the day, I go back and ask the question: was I able to support you in the way that you needed support?
That's really good. That's really good. Was I able to support you in the way that you needed
You
support?
needed, not the way that I thought I should have
That's
supported you,
right,
but
that's
the way
right.
that you needed me to
Mhm.
support you so that you can be successful and feel great about your progress. Again, celebrating and being excited about
Yeah.
the conversations and the progress with that.
And that's one of the things. So, we asked them that. They were like, "Okay, well, if you could you let us go in our rooms? We feel more comfortable. We feel
Right.
safer there." Like everything's been ripped from them, their normalcy.
Yes.
And so their rooms were their safe space. And
Yes.
initially I was like, "No, you're going to be in your room. You're going to do this," because they have all the gadgets, all the things in their rooms. But what I will say is that they did better in their rooms, but also emotionally.
Yes.
Emotionally, they did better. And yes, I am like a tiger mom when it comes to education and it comes to that. But this year, I've had to learn that there
Loosen
is,
up. Mm-hmm.
because for me, it was more important that they were good here, like
Yes.
mentally, that
Yes.
they were good, not just intellectually. Because if you're not good mentally, it will show up in show up in your education, it will show up in your relationships. And so it affects all of that. And so being able to talk to them about their mental health, and they may
Yes.
not understand what that means, but you kind of have these conversations. So being able to, for me, one of the things that I'm like talking to them about is like journaling.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
Journal.
good.
Maddox apparently has a secret journal, and because I was cleaning his room and he's like, "Did you read my journal?" Because I was under his bed, so clearly it's under the bed.
Right, right,
I didn't even see it, and he was like, "Did you read my journal?" And I'm like, "No," and he's like, "That's my private journal." Blah blah blah. I haven't read it yet.
right,
I will, but just yet, I have not just yet, but I am going to read it.
right, right,
Um,
right.
but I think just having that safe space of
Right.
having that journal, and so allowing them to get their feelings out the way that they do, whether it's singing, whether it's writing, whether it is
Yes.
maybe more energy than usual, but
Yes.
allowing them to kind of express and expend that energy in a way that is healthy for them.
Yes. Can I share with you some of the statistics that have just
Yes,
recently been
please.
pushed out? You know,
Yes.
and they've done some statistics where they've done um, looked at how this has affected
Mm,
young girls versus how
yes.
it's affected young boys.
Hmm.
And here's what the statistics that we're showing that it has when we're talking about anxiety in our young girls has increased 36% in our middle school and high school girls, as opposed to 19% in boys when we're talking about anxiety. When we're talking about depression among our middle school and high school girls has increased as a result of the pandemic 31%, as opposed to 18% with our young boys. Sleep apnea or just not having being able to sleep or not having rested sleep has increased 24% among our middle school and high school girls, as and here's which is alarming, 21% among our young boys. So we know that our kids aren't sleeping as well as we thought they were. So withdrawal from family, in other words, some isolation, increased 14% among our young girls and 13%. I find that very interesting that those numbers are very, very close. Aggravation, 8% among girls, 9% among boys. Of course, we expect that to be seen in boys a little bit higher. And here's where I also want to look at aggravation increasing 9%. Now, if we add that to the 18% in depression, because young men show depression as aggravation and anger as opposed to crying, then that takes that number from 18% to 27% amongst young boys. And then, of course, increased isolation in that as well. Last statistics I want to show is in the state of Washington, mental health, going to the emergency room and all that for mental health amongst teens has increased in some counties from 50 visits per week at some hospitals to over 170 visits per week. And we're also showing that in King County that suicide and suicide ideation increased 30%. Those numbers break my heart, and it
Hmm.
is screaming that we have to pay attention to our young people, because although it may not have affected them physically like it did we adults by
Hmm.
catching COVID, it affected them more psychologically because they had to watch their parents suffer and not
Right.
know what to do with that. There's a whole thing in that complicated grief, complicated depression,
Mhm.
complicated anxiety that's affecting our young people drastically. So, y'all, we have to pay attention to our young people and
Yeah.
how this pandemic has drastically affected their mental health.
I think that's so important, especially to our educators and our administrators. I know him and his 2 chains are
I
there. You
know.
laughing at that, right?
I am.
Maddox is his own person. I'm telling you, he has like his beanie on with like his dreads. He is
I
with like his
saw
locks.
that. I'm like, isn't it hot in
He
Atlanta right now? And he's got his
it's
beanie.
not, but
But
he is
I was
his
like,
own person and he does his own thing. He does not
I
care.
love Maddox.
But I think it's important for our educators and our administrators as our children are going back in and having that grace. And
Yes.
next week we're really going to talk about them coming in, right? And the
Yes.
things that they've experienced. But it is true. Children, essentially, you're not supposed to see some of the stuff that we saw with COVID. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, refrigerated trucks, and even if you're
Yes.
trying to keep these messages away from them, they still are hearing bits and pieces. They're hearing our
Yes.
conversations. They know they're out of school because we're in a whole pandemic, right? Because
Right.
there is
Right.
something going on, a virus that you can get that can
Yes.
kill you, right? And even at their age, the percentage of them getting it and the morbidity of it, or mortality is
Mm-hmm.
low, but still, like you said, they're seeing parents and they're seeing grandparents and
Yes.
cousins and uncles. And so they've had to experience so much. And I think about, again, like when we go back, I remember coming back from Iraq, and this was actually the first time. And we came back, and
Mm-hmm.
Marty, I only wanted to be with the people that
Mm-hmm.
were there with me. I remember one time
Right.
we went to the mall, and I am an out. You listen,
Yes.
I'm an
We're, we're,
extrovert.
we're we're the extroverts of this. Yes.
Listen, it could be 10 o'clock at night, and I am tired from a flight, and somebody's like, "We going to dinner," and I'm like, "We going to dinner?" Yes, we are. I just got all my energy by knowing that I was going to be with other people. You know that you are an
Hmm.
extrovert if, right? And
Right.
so I found myself kind of being this recluse, kind of like I
Right.
did. It was a
Right.
lot of people around, and I was like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like this. And so when I
Mm-hmm.
thought about as we reintegrate, in some ways to help our children and the children
Right.
around us is really to use this acronym that we actually use in the military when
Okay.
we are learning how to shoot. So it's actually like marksman training, and we call it
Okay.
brass. And
Okay.
so, Dara, I'm gonna use that. And so that really is breathe, right? Breathe is the first thing, because
Okay.
whenever you're learning how to shoot, it really you want to hold your breath, but it really is when you really want to be a good marksman, it is breathing. It is the natural rhythm
Ooh.
of your body. It is just breathing in and out. There's no different. It is just taking those breaths. And so making us slow down and lean into the
Yes.
natural flow
That's
of what's
good.
happening. Like it's don't try to force it. Don't try to hold your breath. Don't try, just breathe and lean into the natural flow of what's happening. Kids are coming
Wow.
back to school with all kind of things. Our children
Yes.
are trying to navigate that. And so understanding that the B is for breathe, and then R is for relax. And it really is
Mm.
to take your time. You don't have to go at everybody's pace. And so just
Right.
because everybody else is running to Tulum and the DR and Santorini and St. Lucia and all of the things, it does not mean that that's okay for you and your family.
That's
So for
good.
me,
Come
when
on. Come
people were
on.
going out and doing all these things, we had to go slow with Maddox. We had to make
Yes.
sure that he was comfortable. We would ask him, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
buddy, you want to go out? We're only going to go out for an hour. Let's go get a coffee. Let's go get
Mm-hmm.
breakfast." And so it
Mm-hmm.
was really relaxing into taking it slow according to how it worked for our family. And as we
Okay.
look at children that we are going to teach and that we educate, is we're going to have to look at kids holistically, because some of
Yes.
your class may be ready and some of your class may not. And so just making
Yes.
sure that we lean into that natural progression and relaxing, taking it slow. And then A is for aim, right? It's like really looking at what's ahead. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the excitement of the expectation of what's ahead is that,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we had a hard 2020. And even in 2021, people are trying to recover from all of
Mm-hmm.
that, but
Mm-hmm.
making sure that there is this expectation that
Mm-hmm.
good is coming, that
Mm-hmm.
life is going to be okay, that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
process through this, and having something to look forward to,
Yes.
right?
That's good.
Giving ourselves something to look forward to in life, having those expectations that we're going to wake up and we're going to show up, that we are going to make sure that we speak up, speak out, and live. That, you know
Yes.
what, this happened in a pandemic. This gives us another opportunity to impact
Opportunity.
somebody else. How can you impact another kid? How can you do this? And so, really aiming, looking for that
Love
target
it.
and that expectation. And then the first S is slack. And slack is really making sure that, because we usually shoot with a larger weapon, is making sure of where the placement is, right? And so,
Okay.
reevaluating what you're doing, coming back. And it really is this iterative approach, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like we're going through brass, but maybe you got to
Mm-hmm.
go back to breathe, relax,
Mm-hmm.
aim, slack,
Mm-hmm.
breathe,
Mm-hmm.
aim, relax, relax,
Ooh,
aim,
that's
slack,
good.
until they have that rhythm that they're used to, and that they're like, now it's okay. I can see we went out to the playground and it was fine, or I was with my friends and it was fine, or this and that. And so making sure that we kind of have that slack, and that slack is also community, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're putting that weapon inside of your arm, it really is support, and it's having that
Right.
support. And whether that's community, brothers, sisters, uncles,
Right. Right.
therapists, counselors, people
Yes.
that are going to uphold our
Yes.
children. I think now more than ever, we need to make sure that our children are surrounded by a community that loves them and that's going to
Yes.
support them. And then it is squeeze, and squeeze really is don't jerk, don't try to make it work, but just
That's
squeeze,
good.
just pull back and see what's going to happen, and making sure that it's okay. It's okay if you get scared again. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
if you don't want to go. It's okay that this is happening. We go back to that iterative approach and we
Mm-hmm.
breathe, we relax, we aim, we
Aim.
slack, and we squeeze.
Squeeze.
So
That
that's
is
kind of
good.
my idea as I process through this too, and process through it with my
Yes.
own children.
Yes. That's so amazing. And I love that because it's okay to say, guess what? I'm not okay right now. So
Mhm.
I love that because it reminds us, I'm not okay. So how do I get up? I need to breathe. I need to relax. And
Mhm.
whatever that means, I love that. I need to aim. What am I aiming for? Aiming to get this anxiety down.
Right.
Slack. I need to give myself a little bit of slack and
Mhm.
pray so I don't have to. Yeah, yes. And then finally, I need to squeeze. Sometimes it's squeezing your hands,
Yes.
squeezing yourself to say,
Mhm.
it's okay.
It's
It's
okay.
okay. Oh, I
It's
love
okay.
it. Look at
And I
that.
think it's great not to have all the answers.
Yeah, you don't have to.
It's okay to not have all the I let me
Mm,
tell you, I
that's
think
good.
I am so proud of just the culture that we've created within my family.
Right.
Because if you do not create a culture, it will create it for you. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can do it intentionally or unintentionally. You can listen a
Mm-hmm.
couple of episodes back, and you can find
Mm-hmm.
that because we talk about culture. And
Mm-hmm.
so, when my kids come to me and they're very honest about what's going on, and sometimes I'm like, I don't have the answers, but what I have is that I'm going to be here. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
work through this together, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to love on you. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things too that's important is that when we were starting to work from home, it was like get up, get dressed. And so some of those things as well, even during the summer, right? We let our kids kind of relax and lay around, but
Mm-hmm.
sometime if I feel like something's going on, let's get up, let's get dressed, let's go do
Mm-hmm.
something, let's go out, let's walk, let's
Mm-hmm.
go play with your Nerf gun, let's do this. So those activities that we can do with our children. Hello,
Mm-hmm.
darling. Hey, Ty. Say,
Ty,
hey,
how are
listen.
you? Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, darling. What's
Hello,
that?
darling.
Hello, darling.
Hello, darling. So Ty's daughter just got into this prestigious it's like a program in
Okay.
DC. And so she
Come
actually just
on.
dropped her daughter off.
Wow.
And so Ty, thank you for
Congratulations.
joining us, because
Yes.
listen, if I was going to drop Miracle off, I'm telling y'all, I would not be on here because I'd be crying. But I think that really proves to it too. Like she was able to drop
Yes.
her daughter off, and she's ready. She's having a good time already.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just so important that we are mindful of our children and the
That
children
is
around
so
us.
key. That is so key to be mindful because as we become mindful of our own emotions, let's be
Mhm.
mindful of those in our household together.
Mhm.
Again, you
Mhm.
you you allude to it. You always say it, the support network.
Mhm.
And too often
Mhm.
I think we have ignored our support network that
Yes.
exists within our own family.
Mhm.
And knowing that and what I know from you is you're going to be Marty, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for in that? Knowing that when
Mhm.
I hear the Mac in the back, Mr. Executive Director in the back here, he'll be like, oh, okay, have we now it's your choice, but have you
But
considered,
have you considered?
have you considered with that with John Henry? I already know what his is going to be in big because now we are now utilizing our support systems
That's
to
right.
help us through tough times. In other
Mhm.
words, we're using wisdom and using our support system so that I won't be brash towards them, but you learn to have brass for them.
Oh, that's look at that. That is so good. You better come on, Marty. I love it. Marty, you talk about it all the time about your friends, your really close
Yes,
friends.
yes,
and so how they helped you
Mm-hmm.
in raising and just helping you manage
Woo.
and navigate it. And I think it's important that, as parents, you have that community to say, I don't
Yes.
really know what I'm doing. I
Yes.
don't know what I need, right? And for them to come together and be like, oh, we're going to be the uncles in this, or we're going to be the aunties in
Mm-hmm.
this, and
Mm-hmm.
we're going to help you with this. If we got to
Mm-hmm.
have a talk with her or him, if
Mm-hmm.
we got to, because
Mm-hmm.
maybe they don't want to share with you. And I think it's important
Right.
because while I look at the culture of my house, some people are just now establishing that culture. And
Mm-hmm.
that in itself takes time. And so maybe as you are doing that, then maybe you haven't been a safe place, or it hasn't been a safe place, and now you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to create that safe place. Marty,
Mm-hmm.
how do we work with families and children there and allowing kids to process? But as maybe we didn't know what to do, we didn't know how to create this safe space, but now
Yes.
the children need it, and the parents or the adults in the kids' lives, they realize, oh, we haven't been doing this. So
I
how do we
love
start
that.
that?
And I think that's great. It's finding those trusted members, those trusted friends, those trusted family members. Because let's be honest, sometimes our children don't want to talk to us as
Hmm.
parents, and we have to get out of our own feelings. As long as they are talking to someone, as long as I know Tony is going to talk to Auntie Portia, as long as I know Tony's going to talk to Uncle John, then I have to be comfortable enough and know that they're going to, one, speak those things that are best for my child,
Hmm.
because we are this village. We say it all times, it takes a village to raise our children. But do we really believe that? We have to go
Mm.
past from just saying it to believing it, and then giving those family members, those village members, permission to come alongside us in raising our children, because there might be times that they'll share with the village more than they'll share with us. And
That's
then
right.
Auntie Portia can come to me and be like, Marty, Tony's going to be fine. Now, if I were to offer anything, just give her a little breathing room right now.
Hmm.
She's okay. She heard everything you said, but just give her breathing room. Now I know, and I have the confidence that Portia's a part of my extended family or my support network who's
Hmm.
also looking out for Tony and has the same heart for Tony as I have for her. So
Hmm.
therefore, now we're using this support network to bring about a holistic approach, an integrative approach to healing that is so necessary.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell this because she's on here and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
good. But the other day, so you guys know my daughter just turned 14 and I am not okay. Well, I'm better, but I wasn't at the time because I was like 14. I remember.
Um,
So I've always kind of been independent, and I just listen. I told my father today. I mean yesterday. I said, if you survived me, you can survive anybody. And I wasn't a terrible child, but I was just so independent that I was just like,
right.
I get it, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And then
Mm-hmm.
I will take the consequences later. I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with consequences. I was that
Uh-oh.
kid. I was that kid. Like, not, well, yeah, And my sisters, they
Just
were like,
strong-willed.
that's it. That's it. Let me tell you, you're a strong willed child when you bury yourself in the snow because you didn't get what you want. So you would rather almost take your life. Yes, I
Oh,
was like
oh,
5 or 6
oh,
and I buried myself and I said, oh, y'all want to do
oh.
this? I got you.
Help her,
Buried
Jesus.
myself. Help me. I'm surprised I didn't get hypothermia. But I was telling, but my other sisters are like even keel.
Right.
But Ty always from birth.
Thanks, Mom.
And so, but Ty called me the other day and she said, you know what, Portia? I want to do these auntie letters. And so I have my two sisters, and then Ty is
Mm-hmm.
my best friend. And so she said, I want to do these auntie letters and I want to write these letters to Miracle.
Mm.
And it was so powerful. And she asked me
Yes.
first, and she told me she put this basket together. She asked me about things in the basket. And that's the trust, is that
Mm.
one, she did ask, but it was fine anyway. But the fact of the point that she was thinking about, let's write these letters, and letting her know essentially my 14-year-old self. So I get what you're going through. And so sometime, although me and Miracle are really tight, there's some stuff she told her auntie before she told me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be okay and say, that's
Yes.
fine, because
Yes.
there was something that my sister could give her, could speak into her, that I probably wouldn't have spoken that way. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
great that she said that first, and that we're so aligned in the community that I wasn't afraid that she was going to tell her something that I would not say or that I would not
Exactly.
speak to or that it was ever anything in malice. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's just so important, like you said, to have that community. I think we really do need these villages back,
Yes.
and stop the whole don't tell my child what to do. And it's not that, it is wanting to love on your
Yes.
child and knowing that parenting, let me, it doesn't come with a book. It does not come with this
It
manual.
doesn't.
And so we all can give in different areas to our
Mm-hmm.
children and the children in our village, as you said. So I just love that
Yes.
so
And I
much.
think what you said was very key is in this, and what I also heard you say was we have to stop taking everything so personal and as
Hmm.
if you're not a good parent. One, it's not even about you. It's about the child and their needs at that time. And so we have to
Absolutely.
look at where's that stem from. See, now you're making me go into deeper therapy. Where does that stem from and why this need
Hmm.
that you have to all be the only one to parent that child? It's
Hmm.
okay. Listen, I have had so many people to come along. Some days I'm like, please, do you want them? I will gladly give you a monthly child support check and
Right,
everything.
because at this point, somebody needs to take them.
Yes, yes. But even during this, that's why we have to be cognizant of paying attention to the needs of our children. Oh,
Wonderful show you too. I'm finally on the
wow.
plane.
Oh, we are
Right.
so glad. Well, listen, be there safely. We'll see you here in Cali. But it's
Absolutely.
yes, yes, but we have to make sure, guys, that
Hmm.
we're attending, and that's what I love about the topic of the show, making
Hmm.
sure that we're attending to the mental, spiritual, and emotional needs of our
Right.
children, and putting our own self, our own biases, even our own pride aside for the
Right.
well-being of our children, because that's what matters right now.
I think, it's funny that because you said that, so you are helping me because I do have this thing where I'm like, what would you say? I'm a bad mom? What? Oh no, don't play. Don't play. We don't go there. And it's so true. It's so true
Yes,
that we're taking it personal, but are we going to
yes.
take it so personal that we are going to deny our children someone
Mm,
else that God may have put to speak into their lives? So because we want to be the best, the greatest, it does not negate who you are. It
that part.
does not negate who you are in their lives. You will always be mom, you will always be dad, you will always be godmom or whoever it is that you are. But it's okay to open that up and allow them to have exposure to other people in your village. That is the reason why we have people around our children,
Yes,
why
yes,
we
that's
send them to certain schools, why we put them in certain activities. It is exposure. And so why not let these people speak into your life? And that includes step parents. Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys know I'm a
absolutely.
bonus mom.
Yes.
And so that really speaks to all of that.
And I love that because you didn't say, and I love that you said, I'm not a stepmom. I'm a bonus mom. I have a bonus child. Yes. And I love that because when we think of it, and we got to stop thinking of step, and we think of it as a step back, but I
Hmm.
like to think of it as a step forward.
Right, right,
It's
right,
about
right.
perspective and stepping in the right direction, and
Absolutely.
with that and changing our mindset. So this has absolutely been amazing. I just give a shout out to Pamela. Pamela, how are you, darling? We missed you. You
We
know,
have missed you, Pamela.
yes, yes. And she knows being a mom and raising two man children herself, what that is like, man sons.
Right, man,
And it's never an easy thing.
hmm
I know there were times that Pam trusted when she used to live in California. I'd be like, hey, I'm coming to get the X Man. And she'd like, oh, thank you. And I would come and get X, and he would just come. And the only thing he would do, we just go to the church, he hang out with me. But again, trusting the village
The
who has the
village.
right interest and has love from a healthy perspective for
Hmm.
your children in that regards, and helping them through what could be their own mental health crises and mental health challenges during that time. So that's what it's all about. Hello, beautiful people. Hello, beautiful
I
Pamela.
love it. I love it.
Yes, yes,
This has
yes.
been an incredible show,
Oh my
Marty. Thank you,
goodness.
one, for those statistics. And I hope that you all listening, that you got something out of it that you can take back to the children in your life, that that you love
Yes.
so very much as we transition, as we try to figure it out our own selves and transition back
Yes.
and take this time. I think no one, for me, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this. It's okay to slow down and slowly integrate back into what life looks like,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, because it is different. We will not go back. And all of these things that are happening, and to be okay with
Yes.
that and to help our
Yes.
children transition along. So Marty, I'm going to ask, is there one last thing that you want to say to our community?
What I would just want to share and say is please listen to your children. If you're seeing signs or different things that continue to not be in their norm, behaviors that is contrary to who they are, don't judge them and say, "What's wrong with you?" Please do that. "Hey, I've noticed there's been a change. How can I support you? Is there anything that can support you in changing? Is there anything that's troubling you?" Ask more open ended questions that are not judgmental and
Mhm.
support them that, yes, baby, I'm going through a change just like you. So I can only imagine what it's like for you in this change. Support our children just like it's difficult for them. For you, it is equally as difficult for them as well. So that's what
Absolutely.
I would share.
Love it. And Marty, how can we stay in touch with you? I know most people know, but listen, you never know. We have new people coming into the community. If you
Yes.
enjoyed Marty, how can we keep up with you and all of the things that you're doing?
Thank you, Portia. For me, it's just Mental Health Matters with Marty. Everywhere. You'll find me on my Facebook page, on my podcast show, and mental_health_Marty and Mental Health Marty. So if you do any of those combinations, you're going to always find me. We're so excited about some new things that's coming up. I just dropped, since we're talking about a new journal, I just dropped a Stop the Stinking Thinking journal.
I love it.
Yes, that's going to be a companion to the book, which I'm going to force and come out. Labor Day weekend is my goal to get that out. But a Stop the Stinking Thinking journal.
I love it. I love it, Marty. Thank you so much, as
Thank you,
always, for
Portia.
being our resident mental health hygienist. Thank you, all beautiful people, for joining. I love you guys so very much. I'm telling you, you guys just do not know how great
Yes,
you guys are. So, listen, next week we are back. We are going to talk about transitioning as adults. So, we're going to hit transitioning back into your career, going back into the
yes,
office for some of you all. Um, and hopefully we can come up with some creative ways to help you do that, just based on our own journey, based on statistics and data. We're
yes,
going to tell you how to get your mind right. And then, as I said, we're going to have Queen on for a segment that we're really going to talk about this holistic health. And really, as women age, our community is between 35 and 50. Honestly, I would say probably 40 to 50, for the most part. And so I think it's important, that we know how to stay healthy, because health changes, your hair changes, your everything changes, around that time. And so, how do we stay healthy? I love it. Great book news. And Pamela said, I was just sharing you with a book club. Yes, get them on the book club.
wonderful.
Mommy,
Yes.
thank you so much. Said, great show.
Thanks,
I'm
Mom.
glad you guys enjoyed it. So, we will see you all next week. But we never end a show without this declaration: waking up is automatic, showing up is intentional. Today,
Today,
I
I
will
will
show
show
up.
up.
See you next week.